Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Awesome.
Okay. So hi Abhinava.
Hi everybody.
Okay. So welcome. Ella, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, all right. So okay. Okay, so welcome to the class, Abhinava. Currently we have a student here for this class, and more are going to be joining in. So the way it works is everybody's currently muted, but if they have questions as you teach, they can drop the questions in the chat, or if they see enough time at the end of the class, they can still raise their hands and ask questions. Hope that's fine by you.
That's perfect.
Okay, all right. So class is all yours.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you want to give it a one more minute before we get started so that more people join in, or shall I just get started?
Okay, we can give it one more minute. Then let's kick off.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, Abhinav, you can go ahead and start. I think you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I was just not getting the permission to unmute earlier. Thank you very much for inviting me to this session. My name is Abhinav, and I will of course be giving you my detailed introduction later in when I start my presentation. I'm based out of India. As of now, it is 10:30 p.m. at night. But I'm pretty excited to talk to you all. What's the time there in your location right now?
It's currently 6:03 p.m. 3 minutes past 6 here.
Okay, awesome. And again, thanks a lot for inviting me. I'll just share my screen and we will get started. Let me know when you're able to see my screen. I hope you should be able to see my screen right now.
Yes, we can see
Is the screen visible? Awesome.
Yes.
So I would of course would want to kind of know a bit more about you, but this is more to kind of let you all know, share my thoughts, my learnings. I have like around 17 plus years of experience in building products, both as engineer and product manager. So today's session is more on what is product specs. You must be familiar a bit about it, but there are certain pitfalls that we should be basically avoiding. We should also know that what are the constraints, and how do we kind of see this product specs evolving during the entire product journey is something that I would want to kind of share. I have actually mentioned that this is a journey that I'm telling you more as an accidental product manager, and I'll tell you more about that, why I am an accidental one. And the other part important there is that the product specs in itself is a journey, because they get evolved. It's not they shouldn't be static in time. They shouldn't be what do you say, stagnant at a place where you just fix it once and then they're fixated at that particular instant. They should evolve based on lots of different factors, specifically how the market changes, how your customer requirement changes, how your constraints changes, and how your feasibility changes with respect to what you want to build. So with that, I will move on to the next one. And this is my quick, what do you say, summary of what I have been going through. And this is one of the reason why I call myself an accidental product manager. I don't have a formal degree in a master's of business administration, I would say, but I have learned the art of product management and the science part of it as I went along. Primarily into this phase, if you see this 2011 to 2018 phase, when I was running my company on my own, scaled it up and down, had multiple, I would say, failures as well as lots of learnings there. There were a few wins as well where we made a bunch of money. But at the same time, I think this was the part of my career where I learned a lot about product management, made a lot of mistakes. I still do make a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, they are probably part of life. I encourage my team to make mistakes, to take risks and make mistakes. You can scan me here, find out my profile, hit me, connect on LinkedIn. Currently, I'm working as a product leader at Compass, and one of the areas that Compass leads. And Compass is a company based out of United States. They enable real estate brokerage firm Compass to be tech efficient and enable their agents to enable their real estate agent journey to be much more efficient via technology and all the softwares that we provide. I will take a pause here, but at the same time, please feel free to raise your hand and jump in and ask questions in chat as well whenever you feel anything. And of course, the host can, as you're moderating it out, please tell me when to stop and answer the questions. I would just want to kind of open a bit about all of you sides. Would it be possible for all of you to kind of at least just type it, that I know your name is on the screen as part of the gallery, but key two things. One is your location, your name, your location, and what is your biggest strength, at least from a product standpoint. If you can tell me, that would be really helpful for me over the period of time. I'll just give it a minute if you can type it out on the chat.
Okay, so for everyone on the call, please do. So please, you can type in your location and how, to product management. So please do that now. Thank you. Please, everyone.
And I really encourage you all to think about what's your biggest strength in general when you think of building products. And again, it's okay, and it's okay to kind of, what do you say, be subjective about it. Okay, so I'll just give it one more minute and then I'll move ahead.
Drop on the chat if you can see the chat. I don't know if you can see it from your end.
I can see it from my end. I'm just not very sure if I can pronounce the name correctly, but I'll just try it out. And please, Emanuela, if you can help me correct the name, that would be great. Thank you, Jem. Thank you, Adebola. Thank you, Amaka. Thank you, Favor. Nice to meet you all. I will, and please continue to kind of type in your, thank you, Anekbu, Chika. This is very nice, actually. My biggest strength is ability to collaborate with people. This is very, very nice. I mean, very, very required when you are dealing with many teams across the board. Product managers don't get reporting a lot of times, and you do need to have a strong collaboration skills, which will become a very big strength for each of you. Thank you, Chidema. Okay, I will, yeah.
No, all right.
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to add that they should go ahead to add their biggest strength and not just their name and what they do.
I didn't hear that completely. Sorry, Manuela.
Okay, just wanted to add that they should go ahead and add their strengths and not just their name and what they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. And please continue to add this. This is very, very useful. I believe this will be really helpful for the team. I'm assuming that while they kind of design their curriculum content for you guys. I'll move ahead. And this will be a quick agenda. Please continue sending it across on the chat, by the way. And the chat is open. Type in your questions. It is by my side. I can see it. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you, everybody. So this is a brief journey that I will be talking about. I'll tell you about, there will be a bit of a small hands-on exercise that we'll do. And I think this might give me some of the context on where you all stand with respect to writing product specs. And it's perfectly fine to just spend some time on that. And I'll just give a brief intro on that. I'll tell you after that what a product journey looks like. You all must be overall familiar. It will be more like a refresher. But at the same time, the next is more about to kind of understand what's the complications in this product journey and how do we kind of solve it with a very simple solution, what kind of templates to use, what kind of examples to refer. And hopefully we'll have some time left out at the end to clarify some questions. And of course, you can drop in your questions in the chat at any time. Small, what do you say, request. You just need to kind of, I'm hoping that you can write this, you can spend like next 10 minutes, Emanuela, if that's okay with you all. We want to spend 10 minutes to type in something, open up your Google Doc, think about what kind of, how, if you have to tell about a solution of a problem, how would you structure it? And would you be able to, and how would you write like few lines about it? And it's okay to kind of write in few lines, write in few paragraphs. That's perfectly fine within the next 10 minutes, and submit it over, let's say, in this form. And I'll just, what do you say? Let me just give me a second. I have to click on this form and find it out where the link is. Just let me know if this form is accessible. And if it's not, I would have to change the settings though. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Muftanatu. Thank you, Ajite. It's accessible, awesome. I'll just start my timer. It's we'll give 10 to 15 minutes. That's perfectly fine, and I will be muting myself. Please spend some time and write down anything. That's perfectly fine, and small content, and submit it out in this form. Emanuela, I'm hoping it's, and if it's not clear, please do ask on the chat that this request is clear or not clear. So.
Okay, yeah, it's clear. Okay, so for everyone, a link for a form. So please do that now and fill the form so we can get your responses. Thank you so much. Of you asking questions on the chat, a form was dropped on the chat. Oh, sorry. Okay, Ms. Amaka, please can you unmute?
Yeah, sorry, I keep accidentally muting myself and forget to, then I have to request you to unmute. So Jem, what you have to do is, I'm assuming that because as part of your previous sessions, you would know what a product manager does. But when they have to think about a problem and a solution, right? So you have to think about any problem that for which you want to kind of build a product, let's say a software product. I'm assuming again it's a technology driven software product, and we are not really solving the problem right now, but you have to think about a problem, and it could be any problem. For example, let's say you want to build shopping experience for elderly, right? You want to build alarm clock for blind. You may want to kind of build a ride sharing mechanism, but just write down something in a doc and then submit it across in the form is what I'm requesting here. Did that make sense, Jem, for you? I'll mute my, sorry, I'll stop sharing for a while, and I'll let you guys fill in this form and submit your docs to me. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So please, if you've not filled the form, please do that now. Please do that now. So you can check the chat and the link to the form is available there. So click on the link and fill the form. It's just a one-page form. So please fill it so your instructor can get the responses. Thank you.
Fatima, the instruction is more to just write down any problem and the solution that you think of as a product manager. So take any problem around you that for which you want to build a product, and you can build it and you can upload it in Google Docs. Just open up a Google Docs, fire it up, and then type it down and then send it across. And you don't have to put a lot of content. Just type down something is what I'm looking for. How do you structure it is what I'm really looking for. At Ebola, it can be any document. It can be just fire up any notepad or any Google Doc and then send it out in this and upload it in this form. And it's okay even if you cannot. That's perfectly fine. We'll give it a few minutes. Hopefully, we'll get some responses. If not, then also it's fine. We'll continue after that, and we can see that how do we, what kind of key problems exist when we write these documents. Of seeing a new participant. So the new participants who've just joined in, please fill in this form. Write down if you can think about a problem and a product that you would want to kind of build a product for. Just write down few statements about what would you want to build for and what is the key problem it's all about.
Okay, yes. So I think that someone is asking questions that if they are done with filling the form, what documents should they upload it on? Yeah, I think there's a question as regards that.
Yeah, I did answer that. It can be any document. It can be any document, and we can just type it in your Google Docs or maybe a notepad, and then upload it out.
All right.
Adibola, this is I'm looking for a document that you could write it probably by yourself, but maybe let's say I'll just give it a couple of more minutes, and then we can get started. Yeah, this is interesting. For example, one of the documents that Jem has uploaded is, she just mentioned problem, lack of job opportunities, and the solution she has mentioned is helping students connect with opportunities even before they finish school. This is a good start, and this is the kind of things that I'm really looking for. Specify a problem statement and specify a solution, approximately what you would think and how would you kind of mention it out is what I'm looking for. Thank you, Jem, for that. I'll give it one more minute and then I'll continue with the presentation. Okay, so I've got few responses. Thank you very much, everybody. And now let me just present my screen once again, and we'll get started, restarted rather. Just give me a second. I'll share my screen. I think I lost my window. Oh, okay, I found it. Fine, thank you. Okay, where is it? Right. Are you able to see my screen? Please type on the chat if you can, one of you. Should be great. Can you see my screen? Can you see this hands-on exercise? Okay, awesome, thank you. I'll get started. I'll move on to the next one. So as you kind of build products, right? And thanks for submitting those responses, really helpful. But while you were writing that, if you think about from the product side, right, you should always see when you build products, when you build any product, whether it's a physical product, whether it's a hardware product, whether it's a software product, it is all driven by a design thinking experience. And if you see, you connect with the customers, you understand what the problem is. When you understand, you're defining the problem space, right? When you define, you kind of ideate, you understand how do we kind of put that ideation into practice, you prototype it, you test it, and you repeat it, right? And it's a very, continuous process that you have to work on while building a product. But at the same time, if you think about it, and I would obviously want to kind of know from the audience as well that have they built? I'm assuming that they are still learning, so they won't have built many products yet. But when they see this entire experience, any of the products that gets made, they are made via this entire cycle, and during this cycle, we run into lots of complications, right? I would, I mean, if you think about it, when you would see actually a lot of products around you where the solution itself is not right. And did the product designer or the product manager, did they even understand the requirement? Did they even understand what needs to be made? Did the product manager or the product team realize that whether it is need to be made, that particular aspect of the product needs to be built or shouldn't be built, right? Are they making any assumptions there, right? Do they know how to make it? How would they know that it actually worked for the customer? And and finally, I mean, for the customer, they are always worried that when can they receive this solution, right? Um, and I'm hoping it makes sense. I would pause after for this a minute, and then we can discuss this further. That what whether it makes sense to you or not, and would you want to kind of need more examples on that? But by building any product, right? It's it's a synergy. It's a transaction between the two parties, right? You have a customer on one side, and you have a product team on the other side, right? You have a problem and you have a solution, right? But to be able to extract the right problem, which needs to be solved now via a product, is what is challenging. Whether you are solving the right problem or not is the job of the product manager. Whether you're solving it correctly, whether you're solving it completely, is something that is the job of the product manager. And we'll discuss it further. That how do you kind of explain this job? How do you kind of explain this job to the product team so that you can write this down very clearly? You can come to their stakeholders. You can really kind of build it out, and you can basically send it out to the customers, right? Have you ever seen this situation, by the way? And I would be interested to kind of know from this team, if you can basically think about it. Have you seen that? Have you seen products where they completely got it wrong? I mean, they just solved very different problem than what the problem was. Have you seen it around yourself by any chance? Or you have maybe built it in your team. That is also okay. Has there been any experience? Yes or no? Any? Am I audible? Have you seen this? No? Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So, I mean, this is amazing that in case you have not seen any of the problem not getting solved, um, I think you would at least must have seen the products which are not perfect, which are not solving the problems completely, or which are maybe ineffective experiences, right? Is that yeah, okay? So at least if that is there, then that means that in certain manner those products have not been able to become part of the life of the customer. They're certainly missing a certain aspect of the problem space while building it. Maybe they started focusing on something else while building the product, and they missed the direction. And the product team side, when they started looking at it, they assumed a lot of things. It's quite possible. So and thank you, Lily. That's perfectly right. Some of the products would solve problems while the other don't solve problems as effectively as you would have liked. That's perfectly right. And it's an evolving mechanism, like I said, right? The product evolves, the customer requirements evolve. And at the same time, in this entire center is the product manager, is the product head or product team, which needs to continuously strive to understand the requirements of the customer, to understand the customer correctly, to know that out of those 10,000 problems that the customer is having, there are maybe top 10 that they need to really fix right now, right? And they are not assuming a lot of problems, lot of constraints. They assuming correctly what needs to be assumed on that front. They know how to make it from the technology front. They know how to use technology to enable those experiences. And then because they're really investing, they have to kind of get this funded. They have to kind of get money. You have to get a team to kind of to build this product. They also have to have right mechanisms, right measurable mechanisms to know whether that solution worked, right? They won't be talking to 10,000 customers. They won't be talking to 1 million customers to know that whether the problem really got solved or not. But at the same time, they have to build mechanisms for themselves. So imagine this is more like a blind test that they would be really doing, right? Did it work? Did it not work? And they need to have certain, what do you say, observable mechanisms which they can measure and know, right? That whether they have to kind of scale up into that product line or not, right? They must have taken certain assumptions on building a product, on building a solution which will work for the audience. And we can say, take some example. For example, let's say there is a ride sharing application that needs to be built. The product team assumes that there is enough demand for people in an area who would want a ride sharing to be done. I'm assuming people know ride sharing, where few people will basically collaborate across each other to go to a place and they can share a ride. And this product team provides application for these drivers or riders to share the drive with each other. And when they kind of use the application, they assume that they can get payment in certain manner. Maybe they have a subscription piece of that. So essentially, when they go across this model, they have an assumption, right, that this is going to work, and they must have done some research. Based on that, they built this app, which is where your tech feasibility comes in. They ultimately build this app and find it. But at the same time, if they have to continue investment or not, they have to really understand in observable, measurable manner whether it worked or not. And that is going to be done via, and if that doesn't work, they have to, of course, pivot it out. They have to think that whether they have to continue doing that business or not. From the customer side, they always have to know whether they will get the solution. I'm hoping it makes sense, and we can move on to the next slide. So in my experience, when I have built products, right, I take it into 2 steps. And essentially, when you look at a lot of examples and templates that I'll be showing, that's more like a 1-step process itself. When you do a epic creation, does folks in this room know what an epic is, and when they are creating epics in, let's say, any of the features, big features, anything like that? Yes or no? EPIC? Okay, I will. Let me just take a stab at it. I'm not really. Okay, no worries, Jem. Epic is a big feature, basically, and when you kind of talk about from a product management standpoint, when you have to build a product, you will not build the entire product in one go, right? You have to break it into different pieces. Imagine that as one piece, one big piece that you have to build, right? When you take this, and okay, let me ask another question. Are you what kind of application have you seen? Let's say any e-commerce application where people order online and where the items are delivered at home. Any e-commerce application. Awesome. Perfect. So this e-commerce application is, it's not that when you kind of look at any e-commerce application, you will have basically login mechanism, sign up mechanism, you will have payment mechanism, you will have items, different kind of category of items, you will have maybe customer reviews, you will have ordering mechanism, you have search mechanism. All of these are big features, right? An application will not be made together and then shipped in one go. You have to, when on the application side, on the people who are working on the application side, the product team who are working over there, they are divided into different teams, right? And each of the teams would be working in certain area, certain product area. So imagine this Epic as a big product feature that they may want to kind of work in. For example, search is one big area. So search becomes an Epic when you would want to kind of start implementing the search mechanism in the product. So the way I see this mechanism, if you look at the previous problem, and I said there is a complication, the complication is solved of this journey via two-step process. And that's how I do it in my head and for my team, right? Whenever you think about a bigger problem, which needs to be ultimately broken down into a lot of steps, but at the same time, at a bigger problem level, write down a one-pager, which is what I was asking you all to do earlier. Write down on one pager and then extend it out to a spec, a product spec. So in this group, have people heard about product spec earlier, or is it the first time that you're hearing it? The name product spec. Not the first time. Thank you, Fatima. This is great. So at least as product designer, that's right. It is same as PRDs. That's perfectly right, Michi. Michi, if I am pronouncing your name right. Thank you. So it is same as PRDs, right? This is definitely same as product requirement definitions. That's why I've written it's PRD/spec. And spec is a short form specification. One pager is nothing but a first section of the PRD is how I basically treat it. You can always have a full PRD, right? But at the same time, before investing time into full PRD, I prefer my team writes down a one pager. One pager is putting down a very concisely what problem needs to be solved, why that has to be solved today, and how would you know what kind of solution would you propose to solve that problem, and how would you know that the solution would actually solve the problem? So like 4 or 5-ish key sections that you would want to kind of have it over there, and I will share across the templates to the team here. You can go across and check this out later. I will, of course, share this presentation as well to Manuela and the team. So that's how I do. And let me just take it further. If you think about a product, one pager, right? We're talking about just a simple explanation, a short explanation of why certain thing needs to be solved and how that needs to be solved. And both the things backed with data, right? You don't really go completely by your gut feeling. You don't really say that, hey, because I feel that this needs to be done, that's why I think we should do it. So there is we just remove out as much as possible all ambiguity from this section, right? We want to kind of make sure that, let's say, you as product manager, you think that there is a good opportunity to, for example, in these applications, let's say Jumia, Gigi, and maybe AliExpress, all these applications that the people mentioned earlier, let's say there is no search feature on that. There is no search capability. And you as product manager says, hey, I think people need search. People need to kind of find out the products that they need to do, and we need to build it, right? And well, yes, in today's world, at least we now know on a very gut feel level that search is going to be really, really important, and nobody questions it. But for a moment, assume that somebody questioned it. Then how would you put that out, right? If, at least in the older world, where the search was maybe not that relevant a long time back, but if you don't think, the thinking process still remains same. We're talking about two key aspects. We're talking about whether we're talking about the clear problem definition. Are you telling about the problem, which is the problem orientation? Are you putting that why this needs to be done today? Why is it important? You have to tell about prioritization to the people whom you want to kind of get the funding for the project. You should want to kind of keep it short. Obviously, that's why it is one pager. You give enough direction in terms of solution, right? You're not really solving it completely in that one pager. You're not saying that, hey, when you put it search, you have to use this backend. You have to kind of solve the search in these many clicks and these many response time and all of that, right? Or at this page where you will put search, and at this page you will not put the search. This is just to kind of provide a high level user flow on what the direction of the solution would be. And finally, you will also say that if you implement it, then how would you know that you have gotten success? You would have to have certain measurement criteria on this. And once you get that one pager done, you move on to the spec. You move on to the PRD, which is what Michi said that this is PRD. And as part of PRD, you describe the solution. You describe the solution in detail. You break it up. You break it up into tasks that your engineers can take up. Your designers can work on. Designers will actually work on a full experience, but it is primarily for the engineers to kind of break it to look at each of these tasks, each of these mini features, and then build it out. You would also provide a lot of metrics that what would you measure? For example, people coming onto this page, how many views are happening, how many interactions are happening, how many people are searching for the first time, how many times when people search, let's say we are building a search, a PRD for a search, you would want to kind of find out how many times when somebody searches, they are not getting any results. How many times when they're searching, they are getting results and they're actually clicking on some of the results to go to that product page. And we are still talking about these applications like Jumia, Gigi, and AliExpress that you guys mentioned, right? So you need to be very, very careful about what the metrics have to be. And lastly, what is the schedule looking like? I mean, if you don't provide the schedule, you cannot estimate what's the development cost is going to be. This project is going to run for 3 months or 3 years. All of that is going to kind of change the dynamics of funding completely, right? And your competition can eat you up in that time anyways if you go it for 3 years. But at the same time, the question is you have to give a schedule so that the people who are funding your project, people who are funding your product, they have a very clear sense of when they can start seeing the results of this product. Okay. Any questions till now? I would just want to kind of take a pause for like 30 seconds. I'll open up a question if there's any, then otherwise I'll move forward.
Okay, guys. So
While you
please,
are,
drop your questions. If you have any question, or if there is a part of the slide or the presentation that you are not quite clear on, so please drop it on the chat. Thank you.
And while you're typing your questions, right, the key thing is What I'm really telling you is that the PRD, it is still the PRD, it is still the product requirement document, but you have to focus it into two parts mentally, right? The way you approach it is, as your mental model, you have to break it up in saying that, hey, the first part is getting approval for the feature, for the project, and you're really selling it out to your stakeholders, to your other people in your leadership, right? Who would question probably that why this needs to be done, why should we do A versus B. That is why you're writing that one pager, right? Once you get an approval of doing A or B based on what you want to kind of write, then you invest more time into describing the solution in detail. It is also possible that your leadership can say, hey, let's do A and let's do B later, right? And they may also say that A and B, both of them are equally important, and they may need to be funded together. That's also possible. But in that case, then they might have to kind of create double teams, whatnot. But ultimately, it becomes a scheduling question than an importance question. The aspect of one pager is to ensure that the importance of the problem and the solution that you are providing is like very clear to whoever reading it, and then based on that they can really decide whether they should really build it or not. And when they decide to build it, that's when you have to basically describe the solution in detail. That's when you have to basically break the solution into various steps. That's when you basically bring up assumptions, constraints, and schedule and input metrics and whatnot. So and that's where your entire beyond page one, whatever happens, becomes your key part of specification, product specification. The first page of it, first page of your product requirements document or product requirement specification would be more on to sell your stakeholders on why certain things needs to be done and what's the importance there, right? Okay, I will keep moving, and I have few templates that I got you folks a couple of templates for, and I will start sharing this. Shall share this slide as well, but we'll go through a few of the templates and see that how they are, how they look like. Let me just reduce this size down. Just give me a second, and I will click on these links, and then we'll see some of the basic ones. And I'm hoping that this template is also visible. If you can, are you able to see the doc, the project title, description, problem, why, anything approximately? Can you see this document? Okay, awesome. So this is one example, Amaka, where you have description, you tell about the problem, why is it a real problem? And again, these are all, as I open up these various documents, there is again, a lot of these documents are not really standardized. Everybody does it on their own, but they have a very, very similar structure, right? And by the way, just one more thing, like I said, the first page, first part becomes your product requirement document one pager, right? This is where, for example, your goal, problem, matrix of success, what is house scope, that becomes your one pager. And the spec comes later. If you look at it, you have your infrastructure, you have your mobile impact, you have your debugging, you have security compliance, you have timeline, you have whatnot. You have like a bunch of things ahead, right? And it just goes on. And well, there is go-to-market doc as well, which in some of the companies, at least in my company, it happens as a separate doc. But at the same time, it can be part of the spec as well, which is perfectly fine. I will, and if you look at more, the approximate structure, I'll just open up a bunch of it, and then I'll go through them one by one. Sorry. Let me open one more. Bolt. So, and each of these, right, all of these examples that I'm showing across really calls about, if you see this, mostly people are very specific about identifying what problem are we trying to solve, and what is your solution, and how will you measure it? How will you measure a success? Same thing here, same thing here. Job stories is basically what are you going to kind of deliver to user? This is your solution, right? If you look at this guy who has presented this, there's like problem, high level approach, what is your goal, right? Very simple part. It's just one pager. Same for front. I mean, when we have looked at the first part of it, they're like, what's your goal? What's your problem? What's your matrix of success? Same thing. I generally use fire this up to have a one pager. What is the problem? Why are we doing this as well? But this is where the prioritization problem part comes in. And how do you know that this is if we are really solving this problem in terms of you give a solution X, but how do you know that it is going to solve the problem, right? And these are like few of the examples. I will go to the next slide. This is one of the places where you can have a pager plus spec templates. I would maybe want to kind of spec/PRE, as some of the folks mentioned here would be more familiar with the PRE related terminology. Lastly, this is my last slide, and I will show across a few of the examples here of real specs. Real specs are hard to find. I got it in one of the community channels of product managers who had submitted these specs in real life, and you can go across these specs. I will again open it. Let me open this one. Let me open this one, and let me open, let's say, this one. And it is going to be a long one. Well, obviously a decent enough size. When you look at each of these specs, right, these become your reference documents. But you can always start from the template, start filling it one, describe the problem, why that problem is important, what needs to be done to solve that problem, and how do you know that the problem is going to be solved with that solution, right? What are your measures of success? Would that be by number of people who are coming onto your platform? Maybe. Would that be by, let's say, number of people who are making searches on your platform? Maybe. It depends upon what feature you are building for your platform. And in these cases, these few of the cases is more about, hey, you tell about the problem statement, you tell about the approach, you tell about the project timeline. This is simpler. This is very, very simple, what do you say, spec that this person has written. You have very clear goals and very clear success metrics, how you're going to measure it out. And you have a project plan very clearly that who's going to build this out, right? Similarly, in this part, you have a problem, you have a high level approach, which is a solution. You tell about goals and success. And then you basically, I think, yes, that's where your key features come in. Your flows needs to be designed. You have to put in your UI design. This spec is not complete, of course. In the key flows, you will put across the user journey. The people who are designers here, I've seen that yes, I think, Jem, you are a product designer, for example. So you would put across this design flow into this part. You would put the entire UX design, UI design in this particular section. And then based on this, you would again, from with the product manager, again, divide it into different steps, different sections, which can be then taken to the engineering team. And engineering team can take it one by one, implement it, test it out, and then stitch it together to build the end product. And this is like another example. I think I have got one more thing. This is a bit, again, similar, where we talk about metrics of success, put a summary, what is the feature spec? And then there is a wireframe, for example, here. They might talk about A/B tests, might talk about technical specs. Technical specs is more on the tech side of it. Some of the times, this tech spec is just extracted out and put it into a separate doc, which engineering can own up. But at the same time, it can be part of the spec as well. It's a pretty, what do you say, overlapping thing. Stories is clearly the part that I said. You have to break it down into different sections, multiple stories, and then you basically, each of these engineering team can pick it up. That is it, folks, from my side. I think I can stay up for questions for 5 more minutes. We are there for 5 more minutes. I'm very happy to answer any of your questions now.
Okay, so there's one question.
At what?
On the chat.
I see Fatima's question. At what stage of product development do you create this product spec documentation? after you have done your initial research, um, and once you have a fair sense, when you have, let's say, doing a research, you are doing a customer research, you understand the key problems there, and you have a understanding of what this approximate solution would be, that's where you would start writing the one pager of the spec, right? And once you get the approval, that's when you can detail it out as a proper PRD, right? Chika, your question on is carrying out research, where can you get valid and accurate information in? Is this, are you saying that is this part of the PRD or not, is what your question is, Chika? Okay, see, research, and it is related to what Fatima asked, research is done before the one pager is written. Well, you obviously, well, product manager will always continue to do research. That is also true. But at the same time, if you look at from the user research standpoint, which generally the design team does, and product managers are also involved in that, that is generally done before you write the one pager. The artifact, the outcome of user research is your user research presentations or user research documents, which tells about clearly the what the user problems are. And again, all of these user research is done based on the interviews. The product managers takes in these user research interviews and also takes in the data analysis part. So they are taking, user research will be done only on the subjective part, the qualitative analysis. A product manager also has to do quantitative analysis, and both of them have to be merged into the step. The third question from Michi is, who are the key influences of a product spec? Does the customers get the higher percentage of the business objectives? It is, I mean, my opinion, again, see, it also depends upon which part of the system you are building the product for. If you are building a product for a business's platform, then the business becomes, then your other products become important objectives for your product. So it is very much driven when you're saying, does the customers get higher percentage or the business objectives? See, I'm assuming, and this is how it should be, business objectives have to be aligned 100% with customer objectives. If they're not aligned with customers' objectives, then the business is going to fail most probably. If you're not providing value to the customers, your business is not going to succeed actually, and that's what my strong opinion is. And I would want to know more, Michi, if you have seen business objectives being different than customer objectives. They should be same. Next question is, how do we get information about user? You got to know your user. I mean, that's my answer would be for therefore you have to figure out mechanism. How do you get access to the user? Now, that could be that would be a need for different session itself, because user accesses may not be that easy. So you have, let's say in the product management space, if you're not having a direct access to the end user, let's say you are, again, let's go back to those shopping apps, right? Which few of your folks mentioned earlier. It's quite possible that you don't have access to end customers, but there are alternate mechanisms, right? Well, in this case, all of you would be those users anyways. You have your friends, you have your families, you have your relatives whom you can basically test it out with. And that's one. And the second part is, even if that is not there, you can have some customer facing teams which would have some information about the user. That's the second approach that you take when you get the information about the user. Who are the key influencer? Engineering team, your business stakeholders are the key influencer primarily in your product spec. Your design team as well. In carrying out research on a project, most times users don't or feel reluctant to give you information. How do you go about that? Very interesting question, actually. See, we have to, and it's very hard to kind of get that information. Like you're right. You have to see signals, and that's why I'm saying user research will give you only small part of information, because you cannot really go and interview every other customer, right? You will take a sample size of customers and interview them. So that's where you have to kind of complement that understanding with the data analysis as well. You have to complement that understanding with the quantitative analysis as well. You cannot really do it just with the sample set. That's one. But to your question on how do you get the information that you're really looking from the user, you have to see him doing things. They will, if you ask them a lot of questions, right, it becomes very hard for them to explain you. That's what I have seen, right? I generally prefer, if I am part of basically user research discussions, which whenever I'm part of the user research discussion, I prefer to observe them using my product. I prefer to kind of observe them doing their job for which I want to kind of make the product. I'll tell them that, hey, I just want to be there. I just want to be there. I just want to kind of see you doing things. Please tell me. Don't feel basically need to explain me things. I'm just staying by the side, observing, taking notes, and understanding. That's it. And that gives me sufficient understanding on what this space is more about, right? So the key aspect, in my opinion, is not to overwhelm the users into asking a lot of questions, but actually it's more about observing and learning from them. And then obviously it has to be complemented with asking certain parts of the questions. Chika, I know it's not a perfect answer, but I think I know it's not a perfect world either. We're almost at the end of the session. I will stop sharing, but at the same time, the chat is open. I'll stay on, and you can feel free to kind of ping me, continue pinging on the chat. I'm perfectly fine with that. I can stay up for a few more minutes, and of course on LinkedIn, I will share across this presentation so that you can reach me out.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for today's class. Yeah, so guys, if you have questions, please drop it on the chat and your instructor will go through it. And while we are waiting for your questions, I'm going to post his link on LinkedIn so we can connect with him and reach out to him also. So I'm going to drop that on the chat now. So please, everyone, connect with your instructor.
Thank you very much. I think it was a wonderful class. Thank you very much. All the best, everybody. Please become great product folks and make some awesome products. Rock the world.
Okay, guys, so I just dropped that link now. So please, everyone, please connect with him. Okay, I think somebody just dropped a question now.
Oh, is it? Okay. You talked about a project management community. This was a product community, which is, I can post that link. I can post that link. Just give me a second. The only thing is it's a paid one generally. So if you definitely want to kind of use it, that's perfectly fine. But if you just give me 1 second, I will paste that. This is the newsletter that if you go to this newsletter, you can find a payment link over there. Once you become part of the payment group, you can get to a Slack channel where these community sections would be there. But again, that's perfectly fine even if you don't, because there is plenty of material out there for you to kind of get started with, gain some experience, and feel free to kind of drop me questions if you want to have any. I will let me just type in my email ID as well. So that you can connect me, you can send me email anytime. That might be much easier. LinkedIn, I'm not very sure if you can send a message without connecting. So this, you can drop me an email, ask me a question. I will try to help as much as I can. Happy to help fellow product folks. Thank you very much. Thank you, Emanuela, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking out the time today to teach our students. Thank you so much. So everyone on this call, please, you can just tell your instructor thank you for today's class, and we come to the end of today's session. And for those of us that haven't connected with him via LinkedIn, I dropped the link on the chat. Also, you can reach out to him on his via Gmail, and everything is on the chat. So please do that now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day, guys. Awesome.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you.